Love Nikki, and this week is very special because we are celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the release of the Love Nikki game. So, in commemoration for the release of the Love Nikki game, I am making a special anniversary cake for the creators of the game. For those of you who don't know what Love Nikki is, this is what it looks like. It's a great, fun fashion dress-up game that you can compete against your friends in styling contests and gain a really big virtual wardrobe of all very nice and pretty clothing pieces. So, let's get on with the baking. So, I will be using this funfetti mix to make our cake. So, let's get baking. What we will need is we'll need to add our bag of powder and mix into our mixing bowl. Okay. Open this up. And pour it in our bowl. Alright. Next, you'll need to add water. So we will need 1 cup of water. Alright, here's the 1 cup of water. We're going to add that in. Next, we'll need a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. And we'll pour that in. And lastly, we'll need some eggs. Crack them into our cup and add them one at a time so that way we don't get any shell in our cake. And now we're going to use our mixer to mix this all together. Okay, now that our batter is mixed, we're going to preheat our oven to 350 and let that wait. Okay, so we have our pans here. We're doing a 2-tier cake, so the top layer is going to be a heart and the bottom layer is going to be a round regular cake. So we're going to spray the insides of our pans so that way the cake doesn't stick to them. Okay, now we're going to pour our cake mix into each of our pans. Okay, now that we have our cake batter in our pans, we're going to put them in our preheated oven. And now, we're going to bake them for 29 minutes. Set our timer to 29 minutes. And then we'll be back. Okay, now that the cakes are done baking, we're going to pull them out of the oven. Wow, they're looking and smelling wonderful. I'm setting them here on this cooling rack just so that way they can cool down for a bit before we try to decorate them. So, see you when they're cool. Okay, and we're back. So we finished letting both of our cakes cool after pulling them out of the oven. So we have our heart one here on our cooling rack. And we have our round one here on our cake decorating plate. So, since this is an anniversary cake, I made some little things to put on top. I'll show you closer when we get to decorating. I'm going to start with putting the icing on. So I have some whipped cream cheese frosting in a white, just plain white, and that's what we're going to use for the bottom layer, and that's what's going to also help us stick the heart to the top of it. We're going to use our cake icing knife here to spread it onto the cake. I am not a professional at doing this. Let's do our best. Okay, now that we have our layer of white on, we're going to slide our heart cake on top. So, this will be difficult. Got it? Okay. The heart is on top. Yay! Okay, it's on. Success! Now we're going to make some pink frosting using some red food coloring and some frosting that's in here. So let me grab a spoon so that way we can mix it. Scoop out some white icing. Okay, so my other camera died, so I switched over to my bigger camera. So, as I was saying, we have the white icing here in the bowl. We're going to add some red food coloring to it to make it a pink color. Because, you know, Nikki's hair was pink and stuff. Start with 2 drops. It wants to come out today. It's gonna come out. Alright. Okay, this looks nice. So I'll show you guys. We have this pink colored icing here. It's a very light pink. Very pastel-y. Apply it to the top layer of the cake. Go using a cake knife to pull the frosting out. And put on the heart. Because, you know, Love Nikki. Gotta have a heart. Okay, now that the cake is decorated, we have our pink on the top and our white on the bottom. You're going to move on to decorating now. So like I said earlier, I made some little things to go on the cake. We have a little present Nikki, and we have like a little heart Momo. And we have little ones of some of the characters. Now, I was not able to get all of the characters, so I only had so many. And a cool little interesting trivia thing. If you see here, this is Bobo from the game. She helps Nikki along her way in her journey. But on the bottom, it says Yoko. And Yoko was the original name given to Bobo when the game was overseas. and they changed her name most recently to Bobo over Yoko. So, you want to know a little piece of Love Nikki trivia? Here you go. And finally, we have a little Love Nikki banner thing to go on top. I also have some spring sprinkles and pearls to put on it as well. So let's get decorating. Okay, so we're gonna put the Love Nikki banner on top here. I think we're gonna stick the little Nikki in a package, like right there. I'm gonna put little kissy face Momo over here. Oh, so cute. And we're gonna put her friends, Nikki and her friends, on top. So we're gonna put Nikki here. We're gonna put Henry here. The lovely Lunar. I'm just gonna move Nikki more towards the center here, probably. Pull that up. Stick Nikki down in. I'm gonna put Momo here next to her. Stick Bobo right there. We'll stick Kimmy right down here. And Prince Royce. Okay. Now I think we're going to use our pearls and put some around the heart. Heart with little pearl candy-like things right now. To give it a little bit of like a fancy aesthetic. Is a cake for the 3rd anniversary. And Love Nikki's all about fashion and pretty aesthetic. I'm gonna clean up my tray a little bit that I decorated my cake stand on. There we go. Cleaning up a cake stand. That way it's not as messy. Okay. Now on the bottom where the white part is, we're going to add some spring sprinkles because Love Nikki was created and released in the spring. So we're going to stick some. You can't go wrong with colorful sprinkles. And we're done with those. I'm Missy Jordan Cosplays here. Cosplaying as Nikki from the Love Nikki game, celebrating their 3rd anniversary. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and click on the notifications bell to be updated when I post. Thanks for watching. Bye!